Hi, my name is Colleen Clark, and I disagree with the statement that delaying a child's entry into kindergarten labels them as a failure, because I don't think it's that cut and dry. I think in the older grades, when kids have established their own peer group, having them held back would be more of a concern for the kids and for the parents. The role of a preschool teacher, in my opinion, is to take the whole child into account and, most importantly, make sure that that child develops a love of learning. Um, there's a couple factors, however, that I think have to be looked at, have to be explored before any decision on redshirting can be made. Most importantly, a preschool teacher has to have a good, positive working relationship with the parents. It's the only way that you'll be able to help them make the right decision for their child. Also, what you have to look at is what effect redshirting this child is going to have on them socially. Most studies have shown that kids who are delayed, kids who are redshirted, even though, especially I would hope at the preschool level, at the kindergarten level, I would hope that they wouldn't be labeled a failure. They still might feel it. They'll know it. Um, and you want to make sure to avoid that. You also have to look at what effect it's going to have on their behavior. Again, studies have been shown, studies have been done to see what kind of changes in kids' behavior occur when they're redshirted. And unfortunately, these kids are going to be doing a lot of the material again. They're going to get bored, and a bored 4 or 5 year old tends to act out. So you have to consider what effect it's going to have on their behavior. You also have to, again, most importantly, you have to look at what effect it's going to have on their love of learning. If they're feeling like they've failed, um, again, because they know that they've been held back, they're not moving on with their friends, they might develop a poor attitude towards school, and that's the last thing that we want for a preschool child going to kindergarten. But that being said, I think every child is an individual and they have to be treated as such. So I'll tell you about a kid. I'll call him Johnny. Um, and this kid has all of the quote unquote red flags um, for why a child should be redshirted. August birthday, tiny, tiny stature, premature, overindulged, real sweet kid, but had some behavioral challenges. Um, and some other personal issues. Again, having known the parents, some other personal issues that you get to know when you get to know a family. Um, well, you we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. Mom thought it was a great idea to leave Johnny behind. Let him catch up. Dad did not agree. Well, ultimately, because it was mom and dad's decision, ultimately, um, Johnny moved on to kindergarten. Johnny's struggling a little bit, a lot. But the reason why Johnny moved forward was not because they simply disagreed. Mom actually agreed with all the points, but it would have caused such a rift between the mom and dad that they decided not to do it. She decided not to do it. So, I mean, it's just an example I'm throwing out there because every family is different. We've seen from our readings and from our videos that, a lot of time it comes down to money. Some parents can afford to keep Johnny in preschool for another year, a private preschool. Some can't. Some parents have to. They're just waiting for that September 1st to come up so they can put their child into kindergarten because they can't afford to keep them in preschool and they can't afford the nanny anymore. So every family is different. Every child is different. Um, the hope, especially for my Johnny, is that as research shows, the playing field tends to even off, like around second, I think third or fourth grade, um, and all the kids, at least academically, seem to kind of even out. So um, I think that's definitely a plus. But in his case, he certainly could have benefited from an extra year. That will not be the case for every child, but I think that's why the most important thing for us as preschool teachers is to get to know these kids, get to know these families, weigh your pros and cons. Are the cons going to outweigh? And like in this child's case, the con for the family was that it was going to cause so much unrest that they decided not to do it. So, um, finally, I think, like I said, every kid's different. No one size fits all. And I liked I liked watching the video about kindergarten counts. I think that's a great program. Wouldn't it be fabulous if every school had that? Um, it would be great for kids that don't have these quote unquote red flags. Um, and it would certainly benefit the kids who do. Um, also, like some of our readings said, ideally, schools that we work in should have the flexibility in their curriculum. Kindergartens should have the funding and the flexibility to offer a more varied program, a more one-on-one, very different flexibility in their curriculum where they'll be able to accommodate these children who not only might be the youngest, but now we're seeing, what did we read? Since 1970, the amount of kids who are redshirted has tripled. So they're going to have to find some way to insert some flexibility into their kindergarten curriculum, and it will require more funding. It will require more hands on deck because not only are these younger kids who are not redshirted going to need more help, but these older kids who are redshirted and are going to have these social, behavioral, um, they might feel a little bit low in their self esteem because they feel like, they talked a lot about the parents who wanted their kids to be the biggest and wanted their kids to be the leaders and wanted their kids to be, get that advantage. Um, well, not every kid wants to be the biggest kid in class. Boys, maybe yes. Girls, I don't know, not so much. So I think as preschool teachers, we need to be very careful in our decision making, um, and our job is mostly to guide and again take the whole child into account, help the parents make these decisions. But ultimately and ideally, kindergartens, I think, are going to need to step up and really develop these programs that can incorporate children from all these age groups. Thanks. Have a great night.